Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of Rock Hard Music. I am the guest host, Darren Grantham, along with Rob Meyer, looking like he's coming in from the tunnel of hell.
Yep.
What's going on?
Nada, just working on this kind of shit.
All right. Yeah, it looks like you've been busy editing and uploading and
Yes. Um, but it comes a pain in the butt doing two channels, but it's fun at the same time. So, all right.
all right.
So go
Let's
ahead.
pick up where we left off with the soup du jour from 1987. To get the ball rolling a little bit, here are some of the things I dug up about that year. Top three movies at the box office. Coming in at number three, I know it's one of your all-time favorites, Beverly Hills Cop Part 2.
Yes, I hate that one. I like 1 and 3.
Number two was Fatal Attraction, and the top at the box office was Three Men and a Baby.
Oh, there's a terrible fucking movie.
Exactly. I have no idea how it came in at number one.
Because
Also released
women like babies.
Also released that year was The Lost Boys,
Yeah.
and Dirty Dancing was released and becomes an unexpected hit. I mean, nobody was expecting that to do well, but it's clung on for decades. Top in the television, Cheers, The Golden Girls, and Growing Pains are the top shows. Making their debut was Married with Children,
Ick.
and The Simpsons make their
Ick.
debut on the Tracy Ullman Show as a series of shorts before they became.
Didn't they start as a Butterfinger commercial?
I don't think that's where they started.
Okay.
I mean, Tracy Ullman had her variety show or whatever,
Is
and
that one of the Allman Brothers?
no.
Okay.
And then it was just a 5 or 10 minute thing here and there, or a series of them, and then they had such a big following that then it became its own show.
Speaking of which, did you know that Almond Joy has nuts, but Mounds don't?
I thought it was Rob Don't.
Shut up. Anyway, what else?
All right. Michael Jackson releases the follow-up to Thriller, the album Bad. The biggest song of the year was Walk Like an Egyptian by the Bengals.
Good tune.
Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, is the very first woman ever to be inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Really?
Yeah. Nintendo released Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
I sucked at that game.
Oh, I think I was the first person in Garrison to beat Mike, and I had the Nintendo hooked up to the VCR so that I could record it so I could prove it. Spuds McKenzie debuted as the spokesdog for the beer that shall not be named.
Mm-hmm.
Red Bull debuts in Austria.
Really? That long ago, huh?
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's like, that was weird. I mean, obviously it wasn't available in the United States, but it made its debut in Austria. And last but not least, baby Jessica is rescued after spending 2.5 days in a water well.
I don't remember that.
You don't? Oh my God, that was all over the news. It was crazy. I don't remember how the baby got down the well, but it did. And she spent 2.5 days there until they were finally able to get her up.
Jeez. All right.
All right. So that's what was going on in 1987.
So did you narrowed down, are we going to skip honorable mentions because this was kind of a weaker class, or?
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely start with our top albums, and then if there's any time at the end, I can just.
I mean, because
I won't go. I'll just name the artist and the album that I felt were just outside, right? But
because to me, there are several albums where I like a couple of songs, but it was nothing really worthy of making note of for me.
Yeah, I get that.
All right. Well, you can go ahead and start with but I got 6. How many do you got?
Oh, I did 7, but I can.
All right. Then you can start out and do 2 in a row.
All right. So coming in at number 7, I have the Cult Electric album.
Really? I didn't know
Yeah.
you were a cult fan.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day in 87, was I listening to him? No. But this album has Wildflower, Little Devil, and Love Removal Machine, as well as Born to Be Wild, Outlaw, and Bad Fun. I think those are the my favorite tunes off of that album. I mean, the Cult kind of hasn't, I mean, it's an acquired taste, I guess. I mean, it's not your run of the mill voice. But yeah, I dig that album. There's enough on there for me to put it at the bottom of my top albums of 87.
Cool. All right.
And coming in for my number 6, I have TNT's Tell No
I
Tales.
was wondering where that was going to fall on yours.
Yeah, it came in towards the bottom. Again, it's not my favorite album of theirs. It's better than their first one. Um, it has Tell No Tales, Everyone's a Star, 10,000 Lovers in One, Northern Lights, As Far as the Eye Can See, and Listen to Your Heart. So
Yeah,
there's,
it has a handful of good songs. I just couldn't put it in there because these other ones have more for me that I like on the
okay,
album. But definitely my favorite TNT album is still Intuition.
mine
And
too,
and then the one with Downhill Racer on it. And
Realized
yeah,
Fantasies.
Realized Fantasies.
But yeah, I mean, everybody in that band outside of Tony Harnell, is from another country, right? And so I think some of the music is, I don't know, it's written differently. But Ronnie Latecro's guitar work on here stands out. There's a lot of catchy grooves. And then Tony Harnell is another vocalist that I could listen to him sing all day. I think he's got an amazing voice.
And he still does. When I saw him in at Rock Timber, he still sounds fabulous.
Yeah. I mean, again, they may not have all the world's best songs, but I put him up there in the same, well, right below Danny Vaughan as far as vocalists go, in my opinion. I mean, those are the two guys that I mean, they may not be very well known, but I could still listen to them all day long. So,
And speaking of that guitar player, I encourage everybody, whether you know who TNT is or don't care for him or love him, find a concert, I think from Tokyo, somewhere over in Asia on YouTube from back in the day. And that guitar player does a solo that is unbelievably cool with two guitars propped and he goes and wearing one and he goes back and forth or no, two guitars and he goes back and forth and there's just check it out. It's really, really cool.
yeah, he's good. I mean, he's a great guitarist.
Yeah.
So, good stuff. All right, what'd you have at the bottom of your list?
Number 6, I got Once Bitten from Great White. This is probably my favorite Great White album. With Lady Red Light, Rock Me to me is still their best song ever. All Over Now, Mistreater, Save Your Love. Even I really have grown over the years onto On the Edge, a really strong album from Jack Russell and the gang back in their heyday.
Yeah, I agree. They didn't crack my top, but they were at the number 1 spot in my honorable mentions. Um, Again, if I wrote this list out again tomorrow, they might crack it. I mean, there's a handful of albums I could have gone either way, put in at the towards the bottom, or just outside. But yeah, again, Rock Me, that's one of my all-time favorite tunes from Great White.
Yeah. Okay, you're number 5.
Number 5, I have Pride by White Lion.
Good album.
Hungry, Lady of the Valley, Wait, Tell Me, and of course the biggest hit off there, When Children Cry. Some of Vito's best work on this album. I mean, he's another amazing guitar player. White Lion didn't have a lot of staying power throughout their career for me, but I thought they deserved this spot. I mean, I think Pride is probably their best album.
Cool. Okay, at number 5, I have the debut album of Faster Pussycat. Maybe my favorite album of theirs. Maybe, well, I forget the name of it. Was it Whipped? Might be my favorite, but this is real close. All their legendary songs: Bathroom Wall, Don't Change That Song, Cat House, Babylon. My favorite song on this, and it gets no respect. Once in a while you hear it on like Hair Nation, but Shooting You Down to me is one of the best songs that they've ever made.
Yeah.
It's a very strong album from a band that, like you said with White Line, didn't have a lot of staying power with me, but this first album, really good.
I actually had that higher on my list
Okay.
because that's, to me, again, it's their penultimate album. It's another one of those debut albums from a band that I don't know if it gets much better. Like, they still had some good songs after this, but it's like they, all the best stuff came on this first album, and it was tough for
They
me
they
to.
pretty much created sleaze metal. I mean, if you think sleaze metal, you think, these guys maybe like Vane and stuff like the non, maybe Bullet Boys early
Yeah.
on.
But yeah, I had that at number 3 in my list, so
All right, you're
a
number
bit higher.
5. Okay.
My number
Yeah,
4.
number 4. Okay.
Number 4, I have Permanent Vacation by Aerosmith.
Are you shitting me?
No.
If I could reach through computers and slap people, your glasses would be on the floor.
And probably because, I mean, this, I don't, it wasn't my introduction to Aerosmith. But this is an album as a young person. This isn't something that I found later, like I have other bands, right? This is something that when it came out, I think I bought it right away. And it has my all-time favorite Aerosmith song on here, and it's one I never hear, and I never hear anybody else talk about, and I can't even tell you why it's my favorite one, but it stuck with me because I want to say it was like in the 5th grade when this album came out. Hangman Jury.
Never heard.
It again, it's different, but it's probably my favorite song on that album. But it had Heart's Done Time, Magic Touch, Ragdoll Dude, which definitely overplayed. But yeah, yeah.
Didn't have Love in
I was pretty sure I was going to catch some shit for that one, but
had Love in the Elevator on it too, right? Was
that
that
was
on?
on Pump, I think.
This to me was the start of them really trying to be a hair metal band. My introduction to them was on MTV with Run DMC doing Walk This Way.
Yeah.
I never cared for it, but I thought the concept of mixing rap and metal was cool. Had never been done. But Melvin actually got me into Dream On, Sweet Emotion, and my favorite Aerosmith song is Back in the Saddle. So when this stuff came out, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Right. I mean, and I had heard those other songs, but I hadn't heard a ton of Aerosmith, and Dream On, I love that song. But it was because of those 3 songs, and then like so when I saw this come out, like I said, I was young and dumb, and I bought it and I enjoyed it, and I listened to it often.
What's good for somebody is valid in itself, but just because I don't like it don't mean shit. But
yeah, I know.
It just surprised me because I never knew you were really into Aerosmith.
That's about the only album. I mean, other than
please tell me you don't listen to all their crappy ballad crap after that. Okay, good.
I mean, have I heard it? Of course I have. Did I own it? No. I mean, this was about it.
Right. Okay, my number 4 is the debut album. Again, debut album on here, Frehley's Comet. This
good album.
his 78 solo album gets a lot of praise. This to me beats the crap out of that 78 solo album, Six Ways of Sunday, and mostly because of Todd Howard's lead vocals. But even Ace's stuff, Rock Soldiers, Into the Night are two, Into the Night especially, great video, great song. And then, of course, Todd Howard just shines on Something Moved and Calling to You. I even like Dolls, which is kind of funny song, really, for me, but there's just something catchy about it when the kids start singing. I think they're his daughters at the time, or one of his daughters. It's just a solid album, and to this day, still Ace Frehley's best non-Kiss album for me. And that
I
includes a 78 solo album. To me, this is better than that.
and that's another album that I have in honorable mentions. Obviously, not growing up listening to a lot of Kiss. I mean,
There's no coughing during podcast, Amber.
oh, she's not even within earshot. She's all the way in the back.
That was a loud cough.
Yeah, the cold's been running through this house,
Yeah,
thanks to
ours
the
too.
petri dish that goes to school and comes home with a snotty nose every day. But you're the one that introduced me to Fraley's Comet. So, but great album. No,
See, I
no
like
doubt
to
about
say
it.
freely because it pisses off the Ace diehards. It is Fraley, and I get it in every comment. It's Fraley. It's pronounced Fraley. Shut up.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's interchangeable to me. Sometimes I say freely, sometimes I say Fraley. Honestly, I don't give a shit what other people think. And
yeah.
um, all right. You hit my number three with Faster Pussycat. And there's not much more that we can say about that album. Great from start to finish. At number two on my list, I have Crazy Nights by Kiss.
Wow, you got him a notch higher than me.
Um, so I mean, songs on there that I like, obviously, I mean, Crazy Nights, Reason to Live, Hell or High Water.
Good song.
I'll fight hell to hold you.
Epic.
Yep. Turn on the Night and My
Yeah.
Way. Um, I mean, again, start to finish, that's one of their albums that I can listen to without wanting to push by anything, right? So,
And I'll
yeah.
just meld with you then because that's my number three. And to me, Crazy Nights is probably top three best Kiss songs of all time, along with Tears Are Falling from Asylum. Obviously, I'm a much bigger 80s Kiss fan. But yeah, I'll Fight Hell to Hold You is just unbelievable vocals from Paul. His range in this song is
Oh.
incredible. As cheesy as it sounds, I love the song Bang Bang You. I love My Way. Hell or High Water is a great underrated Gene song. Love Reason to Live. I love Turn on the Night. The reason this is three instead of any higher for me is because other than the I lost my train of thought already.
Choo choo.
Oh, Hell or High Water. Other than that, the Gene songs are very weak for me. But and No 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 should have never been written, let alone recorded. So I mean, there's just Thief in the Night, absolutely terrible. Good Girl Gone Bad, terrible. But overall, the album is still vastly disliked by diehard Kiss fans, but I enjoy it. The whole album, for the most, other than the Gene songs.
All right. Well, why don't you do your number two? Since
Okay.
all I have left on the top of my list is the number one.
Well, we're gonna go with Def Leppard's Hysteria. As close as you can get to a perfect album in the hair metal. As big as Slippery When Wet was, this album is way more solid. Women, Rocket, Animal, Pour Some Sugar on Me, Armageddon It, Don't Shoot Shotgun, Hysteria, Excitable. Those are all songs I love and I wouldn't skip or turn off. I'm indifferent with Gods of War depending on my mood. But Run Riot, Love and Affection, and Love Bites, I don't care for, but other than that, I mean, this is such a good, easy listen. It's not too heavy. It's not too ballady. It's just kind of nice and upbeat, mellow, if that makes sense. Very anthemic. I mean, it's just, I really, really, as much as I hated to admit it back then, loved this album. My brother's always been a diehard, and I always wanted to make fun of him, but I couldn't with this album. It's too good.
Yeah, I agree. And Def Leppard has lost some love over the years for me, but I actually had this listed as my number one album. Um, I mean, I can't top what you said. I mean, it was one hit after the other. I mean, everything on here, and I think Mutt Lang was the producer. Um, just so much good music on this, and it's something that back in the day of the Walkman, it's something I'd listen to constantly. I mean, just keep flipping it over and just listen to it back to back for hours.
It's amazing. To this day, it stands. I mean, I don't like what they've done to it with these re-recorded versions, where one of the songs there's like no chorus, and it's just weird to me. But the original album just it's stood the test of time. It holds up.
Yeah. And now you have me extremely perplexed at what you have at number one, because I can't think of anything else that's, unless I've missed something. But now since my list is over, I'm really interested to see what came in at that top slot. Are you going with Joshua Tree by U2, or
Yeah,
Appetite for
Guns and Roses. Well, wouldn't
Guns N'
that make you
Roses?
shit your pants?
It would.
You already had on your list. I just didn't give it away.
All right.
Number one for me is Pride from White Lion.
Oh, all right.
When this came out, um, I had shortly after hearing the video for Wait, MTV had a concert of White Lion on, and it was one of the greatest performances I've seen any band ever do. They sounded just like the album on everything, and I just became hooked. And I mean, to me, Hungry, Lonely Night, Sweet Little Lovin', Wait, All You Need Is Rock and Roll, Tell Me, All Joy in Your Hands, and When the Children Cry. We're looking at Lady of the Valley as the only song that I think is just okay. All these other ones are top notch, even to this day. Sweet Little Lovin', probably my favorite. And then after that, Hungry, which gets no respect.
I love that song.
I absolutely can't get enough of this album. I had to stop putting it on mixes because I burned myself out years ago. Tell Me is a great, great song. And of course, Wait, maybe one of the best hair metal songs ever released. When the Children Cry is a great ballad. I don't care for it now because I'm not a big ballad guy unless it's a power ballad. But this album is as close to perfect as White Lion could have or will ever do. They fell out of favor with me too shortly after with Radar Love. I hate that song no matter who plays it. It's like, it seems like 9 minutes of hell.
It's
I,
fucking
the only
long.
the only song that I really like post this album is Little Fighter. I think it's a great.
That
You
was a good
put
tune.
Little Fighter on here and take Lady of the Valley out. This might be the greatest hair metal album of all time for me.
Ah,
So I was actually shocked when you put White Lion in your list to begin with.
why? I mean, I've always given
Again,
them credit. I mean,
all the years we've hung out, there are just certain bands like Aerosmith that just never came out of your mouth. I just didn't know you were a fan.
because they didn't
I
have the
will
staying
say,
power,
I
right? I mean,
will. Go
beyond
ahead.
that album, like you said, they have Little Fighter and a couple others that are decent here and there. I mean, and even for the longest time, Mike Tramp even talked shit about his own music.
Oh,
And
that
that
pissed me
part,
off.
oh God, that bothered me to no end. I mean, this is what gave you fame.
Yeah,
This is what made you money. And now I really just want to call him out for being such a prick,
such a
because
bitch
now
about.
he's touring again and doing nothing but White Lion after he trashed what they did for the longest time. It's like, you can't
No,
have it both ways,
John Bon
motherfucker.
Jovi played that same bullshit game. and he cut his hair off to prove a point that he's not just a pretty boy, and all of a sudden he's playing country music. And other than Wanted Dead or Alive, and the two that he cannot possibly ignore in Living on a Prayer and You Give Love a Bad Name, he just completely dismissed their entire past.
Yeah,
Yeah, Tramp came out making fun of the way they looked, making fun of hair metal, making fun of the music that even they wrote. I'm thinking, you fucking turncoat bitch.
exactly.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed. And then
Um,
he became all goddamn political with everything in his music, and not to our politics, but over in Denmark or wherever he's from. Yeah, it's like, what? I think he wanted to be like the next Bono or whatever the fuck.
who knows? But no, I mean, I always had, I had their at least their first two, if not their first three albums, in my CD collection, right? And again, Aerosmith, they probably wouldn't make this list, with any of their other stuff. I mean, to me, this was like the one album that I could really listen to. So, um,
Cool.
all right. So I had five make my honorable mentions, and we already talked about Great White. The album Growing Up the Hard Way by Mama's Boys,
Is
I think
that the
is
one that had If the Kids Are United? No, because that was never on an
no.
album. That's a great song, but it's not on an album.
This was Waiting for a Miracle, Bedroom Eyes, In Over My Head, and Higher Ground. Those are my favorites off that album. Um, but it's, again, not something I listened to back then. I saw a lot of people talking about the albums on that Facebook page. And then I happened to be at it's like an antique store where people rent space and then sell their stuff. I was I mean, there's a one person that has a very large collection of vinyl, and I was flipping through it, and it was $5. And like I said, the name rang a bell, so I spent $5 on it, and I enjoy it. Like I said, it's not heavy by any means. I mean, it's definitely rock, but it's three brothers, I think, from Ireland that are in the band. Um, but yeah, another one is MSG, Macaulay Schenker Group.
Anytime and Give Me Your Love. Great songs off that album.
Yes, and again, not enough on there to put it above an honorable mention, but very good, a couple of very good tunes on there. Same way with Y&T's Contagious album. Contagious was the big one on there. They also have a song, no, yeah, Eyes of a Stranger, not to be confused with the one from
Eyes Without a Face, Billy Idol.
where Queensryche has a Eyes of the
They have
Stranger.
an yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. Fight for Your Life and LA Rocks are a couple of another good solid tunes on there. And then probably the one and only time I'll ever mention the band Man O' War.
What?
Man O'
I
War.
don't think I've heard anything by them. I thought they were like almost like a speed metal band or something.
Some of their stuff is, like I said, some of their stuff is
Isn't
out
that the
there.
band that's really weird because they're all like half naked on every cover of their album? Is really creepy as a straight man.
Yes, that's them. Um, and like I said, most of the time I wouldn't even bother, but I mean, Fighting the World on that album is top notch. I like it. And then Blow Your Speakers, Defender, and then Black Wind, Fire and Steel. Again, solid songs, enough to, put them in the top of the year. No, but there's some good tunes on there. And like I said, you wouldn't hear me say that very often about that band. But this is an album, actually a cassette, I should say, that I was living in Minneapolis, and one night, don't ask me why, I was probably listening to music, but I was lying on the floor in my bedroom in my apartment. And I happened to just glance over, and I saw something that was underneath the floorboard heater, right? The ran along the whole length of the wall. It's like, what is that? And I got closer, and it's like that's a cassette. And so I got like a pen or a screwdriver or something, and I pried it out from underneath the vent, and it was this Manowar album.
I'm surprised
I
it
don't,
didn't melt.
yeah, me too. I was surprised that it still lived. And
Wow.
I had to listen to it, and like I said, it's not earth-shattering stuff, but worth mentioning.
I had a couple that I would have put on had they more songs on it. And the first one is going to be Loud and Clear from Autograph. It starts off so strong with the first three tracks, Loud and Clear, Dance All Night, and She Never Looked That Good for Me. But then the rest was kind of just generic. So I didn't put that on the list for those reasons. And another one, kind of the same, would be Raise Your Fists and Yell from Alice Cooper. Freedom's a great song. Lock Me Up is amazing anthematic song. Might be one of his best songs ever. Give the Radio Back is good. But other than that, it kind of crapped out for me too. So again, some decent songs, but just didn't make the lists.
Yeah, I had Loud and Clear on here initially. Um, but when I looked at the track list, nothing like sparked any any memory of the song names, and so I just and I tried to look it up on Spotify. That album wasn't available, so I just didn't even bother going to like YouTube and trying to find it to see if there was anything good on there. Because I
And for
just
all of you who probably would be saying it, I cannot even honorably mention White Snake's album. Um, Purely because for me, I was a fan of Tawny Contain, not White Snake, right? So I'd watch those videos just to see her rolling around on the hood of the car. The only great song that I still like is Still of the Night.
that's
Other than that, if
that's
I
about the only
ever
song
hear
from them I like.
Here I Go Again is like You Shook Me All Night Long from AC/DC, right? It's good initially, and if I ever hear it again, I may kill somebody. Is This Love is a terrible ballad. Crying in the Rain is okay at best. It's just I've never been a huge Whitesnake fan, and I know I'm gonna catch some shit because it was extremely popular. But
Yeah, so was Appetite, but
yeah, well,
didn't even crack
anybody who
our
knows
list.
this channel knows how much we fucking love Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue. So Wild Side for Motley Crue, also another one someone will probably put in the comments. You know why we can't stand these bands.
Yeah,
All right, I'm done.
me too. That's all I had for 87. Um,
I think 88 is probably going to be better.
I haven't even looked, but
Me
again,
either.
um, just I know. I mean, one of the pages that I okay, I don't even want to say that. One of the pages I look at lists out like newly formed bands in that year. They may not
Yep.
have released anything.
Yeah. Alice in
It's
Chains, I'm seeing right in front of my face.
yeah,
Already in
from
87.
86.
Oh, this is
Oh,
87. It says
yeah, oh
Alice.
yeah, that's what I meant. 87, Alice in Chains. Yep, that one, and there was another one that
Oh, there are a ton of bands on here. Holy shit. 88 is going to be tough, I think. Oh,
I don't
goodness.
even know if I want to say this. There's a band that was formed in 1988 that's called, all right, it just caught my eye. The band's name is Anal Cunt. Uh, so it's like, I'm surprised they didn't go anywhere with a
Yeah, you think?
fucking name like that.
I mean, a DJ couldn't even announce the name of the band that's playing.
So yeah,
You
I
got to
saw.
wonder what these bands were thinking. There's no way they could ever be advertised. What is
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, go ahead and look it up. It's on Wikipedia's heavy metal music of 1988 newly formed bands. Um,
wow.
I might have to go out and see if I can find something just to see how horrible their music was to go along with that name. Um, and if anybody out there likes them, I mean, let us know in the comments if you've heard of them and you enjoy
I
their
think
stuff.
You're killing Shannon over here. She's got a bad cough as it is, and she's trying very hard not to just cough all over the place.
Uh, yeah, there's another debut album from a good band in '88.
There's a lot from what I'm seeing in 80s, 87 newly formed bands. So I would assume that means 88 is going to be all of their debut albums. So,
Yeah.
okay. Well, we're just under 3 minutes here. So we'll wrap this one up.
All right.
And I'm good now so for me, thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for tuning in and keep rocking hard. And we'll see you soon.
See you.
We both had Bon Jovi. We both had Poison.
Oh, no,
You
no.
listed
Poison was honorable mention for me.
right, but that was in my top seven.
Okay.
And then
Then
you
what
listed
what was your six?
so let's see. I had Wasted at seven, right?
You said look what the cat dragged in was seven,
All right. That was seven. Six was Wasted.
right?
Fastway was the next one.
And that
And
was in
then
my
Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet.
okay. So I named Trick or Treat, but it was in my honorable mention. Okay.
Right.
So
But that was in
whatever.
my
So whatever one you want to move on to then.
all right. So next on my list, I have Judas Priest's Turbo Lover.
Turbo.
Turbo, excuse me, with the song Turbo Lover on it. Um, Locked and Loaded, Private Property, and Parental
Locked
Guidance.
in.
Locked in.
You said locked and loaded.
Did I?
Yeah, you're thinking guns.
It's not what's on my cheat sheet, so I don't know why I said it. On my notes. So Turbo Lover, Locked In, Private Property, and Parental Guidance. Those are my four favorite tunes on that. Um, again, I could have slid it down a little bit. I mean, I may not have been the world's biggest Judas Priest fan back in the day. However, I have come to really enjoy their music. It's not their strongest album, but I can listen to the crap out of it. That's for sure. I mean, can't go wrong with Rob Halford. Back in the heyday, right? I mean, his stuff, his personal stuff or his later in life stuff,
Fight.
yeah, with Fight, and it might be a little bit heavier than the stuff that I would normally listen to. But again, this was classic Priest in my opinion. Good stuff.
Okay. And my number 5 would be Constrictor from Alice Cooper. Never a huge Cooper fan. I did know his earlier stuff, hanging out with my uncle as a kid. He got me into all kinds of things like Sweet and Queen and stuff, but he introduced me to Only Women Bleed and things like 18 and the classic Alice Cooper stuff. So as I got older, my favorite horror franchise at the time was Friday the 13th. And number 6 was Teenage Frankenstein featured clips, and the actual song Man Behind the Mask
He's back.
was for that movie. And the video, especially for Teenage Frankenstein, just the stage show looked crazy. And then I got wind he was coming to Bismarck. So I went, and I think I went for the opener instead, which would have, I can't remember, I mix it up. It's either Kingdom Come or Tesla, but Cooper was a added bonus. So I got Constrictor leading up to this to familiarize myself, and I love the whole album. World Needs Guts, Teenage Frankenstein, Life and Death of the Party. It just the whole album is great. Easily my favorite Alice Cooper album of all time, which isn't saying a lot because it's pretty much the only full album I like by Alice Cooper. But yeah, great album. It's got a great rhythm. It's as fitting to the hair metal style as he can get. I mean, he's somebody who's been all over the map with musical styles through his career.
Definitely.
But that one is my style.
Um, and honestly, outside of Teenage Frankenstein and He's Back, I don't know if I've heard anything else off of this
Do
album.
yourself a favor.
Maybe
Listen,
Thrill My Gorilla. I think I
yeah,
may have heard that
give
one.
it up. Just if you're ever bored, put on that album. And even
I'll
I'd
listen to
say
it.
put on Raise Your Fist and Yell, the next album.
Yeah.
Lock Me Up is a great song. I mean, it's Raise Your Fist and Yell is a great song. Those two albums is where Cooper's sweet spot is for me because it was more my kind of music.
All right.
Anyway, on to yours.
My next in line,
It's number one for you.
it would be number 2.
Okay.
Um, and this album, along with the one at number 1, are both going to be debut albums by bands. In which
I can tell you which
obviously
ones they are right now.
probably, because I think we've talked about when we did a show about like best debuts by metal, hair metal, whatever. Both of these probably made my
Oh
list
shit,
back
hell,
then.
goddamn, oh fuck.
Yeah, Tesla.
Yeah.
Mechanical Resonance comes in at number 2 for me. Easy Come, Easy Go. Um, Starts off that album, great song. Coming at You Live, Getting Better, Modern Day Cowboy was the ultimate song off that album. Changes, and then one of my all-time favorites, Little Susie. Um, Again, there's some filler in there in between those songs, but I think
Not a
again,
lot.
not a lot. I mean, the album is very again, I can between this one and their second album, I can listen to these all the time. I mean, I still listen to them. I mean, they're those songs off of those first 2 albums, Great Radio Controversy and Mechanical Resonance, are pretty heavily played on Spotify.
Well, I'm just gonna piggyback right on here because that's my number 4. And this I remember plain as day. First of all, seeing him in concert. Like I said, it was either them or Kingdom Come that opened for Alice Cooper. But either way, I went for the opening band. But that was the good old days of the old Walkman. And me and Danny Paul would we'd walk up to the bowling alley because that's where my girlfriend at the time, Steph, would meet us, and everybody would hang out at the bowling alley, and we'd throw our Walkmans on and play it. And my favorite song on this is Right Before My Eyes, because
Definitely
Walkman back then, that little guitar
goes back and forth,
ear to ear to ear.
Yeah,
But yeah, I absolutely love this entire album. To me, the next one was okay with Heaven's Trail and Lady Luck and stuff like that, but it was not the same. And then after the second album, they just fell off a fucking cliff for me. I couldn't go. I've seen them too many times. They're boring live, and their music does nothing for me really past that first album.
and I get that, right? I mean, there are a few songs off of their third album that I enjoyed. But again, it did wane as time went on. But again, this first album is just
Fantastic.
rock solid. Yeah, it's amazing stuff.
All right. Well, then, since I piggybacked and you're well ahead of me, I'm going to hit my number 3 real quick since you already did your number 2. And number 3 you already covered is Vinnie Vincent Invasion's debut album. I loved this as a kid. He was Kiss to me. Didn't matter who was in or out. I was always going to pull for the Kiss guys. The video for Boys Are Gonna Rock was outlandish. Everything's blowing up. Guitars are getting thrown and broke. His hair was up to the moon like Nitro. It was the coolest thing I'd seen at the time. As I got older, I don't care for that song as much, but I fell in love immediately with Animal and Twisted and Back on the Streets. Baby O is my favorite song on that album.
I love that song.
And it's Fleshman's voice more. And obviously Vinny's writing, but Vinny's guitar annoyed me even as a kid when it came out because it was just a bunch of fucking noise. And I just wanted to hear the choruses and Fleshman's voice. But yeah, I love the whole
Uh,
album.
is and you've definitely seen more music videos than I have, but is Boys Gonna Rock, is does that have um Mark Slaughter lip syncing
No,
to
no,
Danny Fleshman's voice? There
no.
is a video out there that has
I've never
him.
seen it. I've seen Mark Slaughter do the videos for what the hell's that ballad they put on the second album? Love Kills, I think from Nightmare on Elm Street, and something else. But no, the video was blonde Robert Fleischman.
Okay. Um, yeah, I after, listening to some of these albums, again, putting together this list, went down the rabbit hole with Vinnie Vincent, and all the stuff that happened with the band, Vinnie Vincent's Invasion between the first and the second album, where it was basically Chrysalis Records that wanted to dump Fleshman and bring in the young Mark Slaughter, and that I read somewhere along the lines over the last couple of days where it was Mark Slaughter was lip syncing to Fleshman's voice in one of the
Either they're
videos.
full of shit and don't know who Mark Slaughter is, or there was a second video put out later, but definitely not the original video. That was Fleischman.
All right. All
So
right.
you got number one. I got 2 and 1 left.
So why don't, well, shit, I don't want you to steal the thunder on any of
You're
these.
not gonna. I'm not gonna steal the thunder on my number two because you've already done it.
All right. Well, then let's go ahead and have you do your second one.
That would
Um,
be Turbo.
all right.
In my opinion, top three Priest albums with Screaming for Vengeance and Defenders of the Faith. I love Turbo. I could care. It's kind of at the time was like Metallica when they put out the Black album. The diehards were pissed, and I
They went
love
more radio
yeah, and I
type
loved
stuff.
Defenders, and I loved Screaming for Vengeance, and I even like some British Steel, but Turbo was my cup of tea. And I remember we had Guitarland on Main Street, and the sound of the turbo guitars was so cool because they almost sounded like keyboards mixed with guitar. And I went down there and I was talking to one of the salesmen about it, and they had at the time what they were using. It was a pack, like a box that would stick on the back of the guitar, and it would plug into keyboards, and then it would transfer the sound through. And that's how they were getting that
Mm.
sound. Now it's much easier. You just got pedals for it and shit. But back then, that was the newest technology, and Priest dabbled in it, and I loved it. I love everything on this album except for one of the videos that I still don't know to this day why they chose to release the song Locked In. That the video was stupid. I don't like the song, but Rock You All Around the World, Parental Guidance, Out Cold, one of the greatest intros. In fact, on Priest Live, it's an epic intro to the whole concert. I love Turbo Lover. I love pretty much this whole album.
Awesome. Yeah, like I said, it's on my list as well. And that leads us into number one, and we may have the same thoughts.
Yeah, we do. I'm pretty sure.
And it's just serendipitous that I got some media mail today. And so off of the Facebook page that I follow for vinyl, somebody was getting rid of a copy of it, and it just arrived today. And let's see if we can get this in
And I
there.
just bought it last year. Hold it up against you.
All right,
There you
let's
go.
see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cinderella's Night Songs.
Correct.
So it was one of the very first albums I ever got from Columbia House, where you paid a penny and then you stiffed them on any future payments. No, cassette.
Okay. Yeah.
But now, like I said, just got the album in the mail today. Great debut album. Again, through as I guess as time went on, I think they got away from some of their heavier stuff and went more softer, more radio stuff, which again, there's some out there, some of that stuff I still enjoy, but like Push Push is like my favorite freaking song off of this album. But Shake Me, Somebody Save Me. You have Nobody's Fool.
That to
And
me is their
then
greatest song ever. Nobody's Fool.
Nobody's Fool.
Get Gypsy Rose. It's a great song, but nobody's
Yeah.
that to me. The video was epic. The sound was epic. It is so hard for a ballad. I just love that song.
And Tom Kiefer's voice, I mean, he's got two different ones, and that's
Yep.
something that's always drawn me to the band Cinderella. Um, and eventually I did get to see them live, but not during their heyday. I think it wasn't, well, you and I went to the show back in the 2000s,
Yep.
Poison and Cinderella. Um,
Faster Pussycat.
yeah. And Faster Pussycat kind of stole that show. The
Yeah.
intro, the intro to them coming on stage to These Boots Were Made for Walking
Yeah.
was phenomenal. But no, but I wish I could have seen them live like during the heyday. But again, to me, this album is top notch. It's far and away the number one. I had absolutely no problems putting them in that slot. There was no controversy for me. Just I can't
As
wait
this
to open this
as
and play it after we do the show.
as this list progressed, I thought, okay, yeah, we're gonna end up at the same place here because it's just no, there's no way either one of us could leave this out and nobody'd hit it by like number five. I'm like, yeah, but you had to
Yep.
hit it by number five. It was gonna be for me, my fucking other than Nobody's Fool, uh Nothing for Nothing to me is one of my favorite Cinderella songs ever. I liked
It
Shake
is a
Me
good
when it
tune.
came out, but now I would never put that on a it's not a bad song. It just compared to everything else on this album, it pales. Um, this is one of the albums from a band to where the unreleased songs are as good, if not better, than the released songs. And
Yes.
Somebody Saved Me, I'll never forget that because that was during my very young, influential lead guitar days, a la Jakey Lee. And Jeff LeBar was the other one on this video when they're, doing the act of trying to get it right in the studio, and he hits that, and he's just got that. It's just another one that I just wanted to be like was Jeff LeBar, and of course tossing their guitars over their shoulders and all that cool shit. Cinderella is another band that lost their way for me. Obviously, I like some things here and there, Coming Home, Gypsy Road, Last Heartbreak Station, stuff like that. But for the most part, I love Shelter Me and
Right.
More Things Change off that album. But it went from a band that was a hard rock blues band to more of a radio play band. And
Correct. Yep.
I kind of just dropped out. But that first album was phenomenal.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've been trying to learn two of the songs. So Heartbreak Station, and so I've got that one down pretty
Last
decent.
Smile.
And the last, yeah, those are the two that I've been trying to learn on the guitar. Making some progress. Like I said,
And when
it's
I saw Tom just in 2022 at Rock Timber headline, yeah, his voice isn't what it used to be. I mean, he clearly struggles, but there were two people at that performance that just oozed rock star, and it was him and it was Stephen Pearcy. There is just, you can see greatness when it's standing in front of you. And no matter how bad his voice sounded in patches, he's just so cool to see Tom Kiefer out there under the lights. I mean, it was just amazing. And like I said, I'd seen him earlier, like you, but I didn't really have an appreciation for them anymore at the time. I didn't go for them. I went more or less for Faster Pussycat. And of course, Shannon wanted to see Poison. So Cinderella was just kind of something you had to sit through. But um, now I wish I could go back and see them in their heyday. They were here for the night song or the long cold winter tour, but at that time I was living in Denver for the summer, and that's when I went to see Bon Jovi with some no-name band called Skid Row opening for him. So
um,
you win some, you lose some, but yeah,
yeah, I'm pretty sure that, I mean, I remember when they were in Bismarck for the long cold winter, but I think I was still living in Garrison and had no transportation or means of transportation to get to Bismarck for the show. So I think they were there with, no, it was Rat and Poison that
All I know is everybody keeps telling me that the white piano came down from the ceiling or up from the floor or something to do Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone. And I go, that'd have been, I don't really care for the song, but that'd have been a cool visual.
Right.
But yeah, that's it.
All right. Yeah, that concludes my list.
And we're
So,
damn near an hour in total time.
all right.
Anything
That's
else?
I I don't really, I guess. Looking forward, I guess, to 1987 to see just how difficult that one's going to be.
That's weird to me because I would have swore 87 was the year for all these great albums. So if it's anything like this, I don't know how it can be. I mean, I'm sure I'm forgetting plenty of things, but we'll find out.
Yeah, let's just say I was going to see if I could take a sneak peek to see how not mentioning anyone, but let's just see what we got out there for. It starts with age 5. Let's do this. Oh, okay.
Great.
Well, I know one, I mean, that's listed in the top that neither one of us are gonna.
Metallica.
No. Well, did they have one in there? I skip if they did, I skip past that one, but there's a different one that I know that neither one of us is really gonna.
Oh, Appetite for Shitter.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Honestly,
Maybe it's because all of these 86 albums were toured in 87 that I was
probably.
thinking 87 was such a big year.
Um, yeah, this looks to be ugly. Like
Slim Pickens.
very. I see one album, one that that's worth mentioning. Well, there's a
Well,
second one.
we'll find out.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's going to be a an easy choice, and slim pickings. But
All right. Well, then that's all I got.
sounds good. Yeah.
All right. Till
Well,
next time. Thanks for watching, everybody.
yeah. Rock hard until we meet again.